Welcome to JackHorny.com show.
Right, this is my little why I hate the left speech. Hope this can be picked up as I'm just walking in the woods. Just give me a second. The dog's just doing a whoopsie. I'm just waiting for him. Okay, I don't know if it's going to rain any minute, but let's see how this goes. By the way, often I can think I'll probably do more of these, because normally when I'm writing stuff I come back to it after a few hours and add to it and improve on it. So I'm dyslexic, so not everything goes in my mind straight away. Sometimes it comes later. Anyway, I have a hatred for the left. Well, maybe not hatred, don't know how you describe it. I just don't like the lies that I've for years been pondering. Now, the first aspect of the left, and I always say this, is they tend to be middle class, mainly white. You get a few who aren't, and probably normally seem to be comfortably off. You don't seem to get many, if any, from working class backgrounds ever. They also seem to talk down to the working class. Now, let me just go through also the feminists, who are also usually on the left, I think it's fair to say. With them, they're also mainly white. Again, middle class. And also seem to have a bit of a down on the working class. But, with both groups, they have this sort of set belief that they know best. Oh, by the way, before I go on, I'm not conservative. I've always, like I keep saying, if I voted it'd be Green. I just don't believe in socialism, which, yeah, I know the Green Party do. So I'll probably, without realising it, say and things like that quite a bit. Anyway, see, this is what happens. I have a lot to say, and then when it comes to it, I forget everything. Okay, let me go through a few things. When I was watching an interview fairly recently, I'll find it and go through it word by word. It was on one of the UK channels, I think it was a breakfast one, talking about feminists. And the feminist came on and she said, she quoted, I think within the first sentence, the suffragettes. And this is one of the great lies that the left do. They sort of steal history for themselves. Unless I'm wrong, and I could be, I don't think the feminist movement had started back then, and therefore you can't call them feminists. You don't even know if they were, they could have been left wing, they could have been right wing. I mean, I think most of the suffragettes, from what I can see, were quite well off ladies anyway. Again, and this is the time, and I always point it out, well, yes, it was good they got the vote, which I think wasn't only a few years after the males got the vote. I don't think it was massively a big difference. They still seem to, and I might be wrong on this, and this is why I point out the working class aspect. Working class women were working, and it's one of the lies when you listen to the feminists. They pretend women have never worked. Means what they're saying is that the middle classes had it easy and never really bothered. Now, for years, the working class they worked in, as you probably know, servants, women, and they also, a lot of them died doing jobs such as working the cotton mills. So did children, again, working class. And recently I found out women and children went down the mines doing dangerous jobs, and obviously they died. So, but you see again, that's when you start of, when the modern day feminists and left wing are waving their flags recently about the suffragettes. One thing you should ask yourself is, what did the suffragettes do for the work? I mean, they might have done, I don't know history that well, to be fair. I'll probably find out they did a lot, but I've never heard it. They seem to be quite happy to watch the working class go down mines and die to keep their nice warm houses going. So that's one of the irritations. The other thing that I always find is the left wing are always going on about the working class, blah blah blah. I mean, they don't go on about themselves. They'll go on about how, like for instance, how they'll say the Conservative government's made them suffer. Well, sorry, you're not working class. You don't really know. You just read it in a newspaper. I mean, I know. And one thing I'll say is that the system failed a few people. Because I've known I knew a girl myself. She got a benefit stop because they sent her a letter and she claimed she didn't get it. I mean, I'm going by her word. I think she was telling me the truth, but again, you see, people can lie. I mean, so they stopped and she had to reapply, which this system's a bit farcical. They shouldn't do it on the first letter. The staff seem to be over the top. So, yeah, people have suffered like that. But the second one is, which I hear a lot, is, oh, look how many, what do you call it, food banks set up. Now, I took a friend to a food bank who actually needed it, just temporary. We went in the car. Now, I don't drive a fancy car. But what was interesting was, people coming out the food banks were smoking and getting in brand new cars. So, you know what I mean, I have this sort of, when people go on about food banks, I'm a bit irritated because, you know, just because people have no cash doesn't mean it's necessarily the government's fault. It could be because they've got themselves into debt. And that's why I get a bit irritated by the left lot going on without just jumping to conclusions. They go 1 + 1 must equal whatever. But also one thing that annoys me is again, they seem to always talk about the working class and how they're there to fight. I mean, after a while, what I realise is they're not really interested in the working class. No, what it is they see the working class as a project, a hobby, something to save. You know, they coming along and they do it all the time. I see them. They're not interested in the actual campaign. They just want to be seen as being this hero. I think many are bored. I mean, I suspect in modern day, people are simply bored and just want to feel they've achieved something. I mean, it's a bit like when they go on. Now, I've been on protests years ago. I'll probably talk about them later. But today, these days, when I see people on protest, it's just an Instagram picture. They're not really interested. If it rains, they don't turn up. I mean, the London one with Trump, that'd probably, if it had been a decent day, attracted millions just for the Instagram thing. But instead, they couldn't be bothered. So it was slightly wet and they didn't want to be bothered. They weren't that bothered. But one of the things is, you see, what was interesting about the Thatcher, and again, I'm not a Conservative, was the working classes voted Thatcher. They saw her as a hero because they didn't want to be, unlike the left wingers, seem to think the working class just wants crappy houses, excuse my French, council houses built for them, and that's all they've deserved, mainly because I don't think half the left wingers want people working class to move in next to them to the nice middle class areas. But often what I hear is, I mean, this is again the problem I have with the left wing, is that they'll talk about the working class without even knowing them. They have and they'll take credit for stuff that they've not actually done. And that's another little bug. It's a bit like Tommy Robinson. Now, I don't like Tommy Robinson, and I won't go into detail why I don't agree with him. But I'll tell you one thing, he did, and he went out and spoke to the working class, and he got, because of that, he got 30,000 plus votes, which is a serious number. But the idiots from Stop Hate or whatever they were went out their silly little placards, and they're claiming that they stopped him winning. Well, you didn't, because he got 30,000 votes. You probably actually encouraged people to vote because you were ticking people off. You didn't speak to the working class. No, you're too good for them. You just stood there telling the nice middle class, and they were all white in the protest. So I looked in all the videos. I think everyone seemed to be white. I might be wrong, but they were clearly all white middle class, and not one wanted to speak to anybody. They just stood with their stupid little placards, and then afterwards they claimed credit. Well, you'll find Brexit Party took all the votes who they were claimed to be against, so they did no impact. But yet they want to claim it, and they want to go on. I mean, that's all I saw. They went on the media pretending that they had some impact. Clearly they didn't. But that's the left. They try and pretend they took credit. In reality, they got 30,000, which, if they'd actually spoke to people and addressed the concerns, they probably would have got less, but they couldn't be bothered because they wanted to be on social media. Anyway, that's my little rant for today. Mainly because I'm getting near the car. I might do one in the car. I'll do a few today probably.